Then there's this really cool concept called time banking that I would love to see a lot more congregations start to get kind of practically involved with. It's my world is kind of the world of Christian community development, and this is one thing we're sort of talking about. Now, I realize you can't read it because it's too small, so let me just show you. Basically, it's not rocket science. The general idea is you get a group of people together, and somebody is willing to kind of be the administrator or the coordinator of time banking, and you pass out a little survey where everybody kind of lists the talents and gifts that they have and the things that they would be willing to do for other people. All right? Like Ken would write down, I'm willing to rototill somebody's garden. And I would write down, I'm willing to tutor somebody in writing. And Chris would write down, I'm willing to give rides to old people that need rides to the doctor or whatever. And so we all write down little skills that we have. I'm a handy person. I can bake cakes. I can do this, whatever. We write down what our gifts and skills are with, cooking, respite care, office assistance, yard work, companionship, child care, elder care, blah, 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 blah. We write down, and then everybody has their own little bank account, and you get a little monthly statement. And so the way the time banking works is, so we're all part of a time bank. And so Todd, he's a good handyman guy, and I need like a shelf put up in my living room, and I don't know how to do that. So Todd comes over to my house, and for free, he puts up my shelf for me. It takes him about an hour. Well, he now gets a deposit in the time bank of one time hour, okay? And I have a withdrawal of 1 time hour. And all of those records are kept by the person that's the coordinator, okay? Well, now a little bit later, it's Todd and Jill's anniversary, and Todd, being the incredibly romantic, sexy man that he is, has planned this amazing thing to take Jill out for dinner, but they need childcare. Well, so then they redeem some of their time bank dollars by asking Emily to come. Of course, their kids are older now, but when their kids were younger. So Emily goes and babysits for Todd and Jill while they go out for a couple hours, and it gets paid with time dollars. Now she has time dollars. So now Emily has a need for whatever, and she comes back to me. So it's not that we're just sort of exchanging services. We're all part of this kind of circular. It's a little bit like that movie, Pay It Forward, which I actually haven't seen, but I've understood that people say it's this whole concept of time banking is kind of similar to that. Well, particularly in this time of our very difficult economy, and particularly if our economic crisis, I was talking with Steve Hall about this, if it is sort of prolonged, and we really all need to figure out ways to tighten our belts and kind of help one another out, this is the kind of concept that you could imagine a parish group or a couple of home fellowships coming together and saying, yeah, let's do something like this. Let's get it organized. It's really a wonderful thing. It's really caught on in some of the Scandinavian countries. I don't know why, but that's just kind of in Europe where it's been most popular, but it's starting to come over here now. Okay? So what about churches launching something like time banking? Okay. All right. Now, much shorter, although I am going to run over a little bit, Chris. Sorry, but we'll be quick. All right. So now we got to go to the second. Withdraw some of my time. Yeah, I'm going to take some of Ken's time out of the time bank. That's right. That's right. Okay, so everything we've been talking about is sort of point number 1, which is we're too private. And we talked about 3 strategies, and then I just tried to give you practical ideas of what some of these strategies would look like. Okay, so we're now done with part 1, which was way longer, and now part 2 is a lot shorter. And that is, if you remember, part 2 was about, I said, the other way that this sort of radical individualism expresses itself in terms of the realm of financial stewardship is that we don't often think too much beyond ourselves about our economic choices. I said that we're not as other-centered in our economic decisions beyond seeing how it affects sort of me and mine, okay? Okay, so I want the group to just brainstorm for a minute. And let's suppose that we need to go shopping for a new suit for work. It can be a men's suit or a woman's suit. All right, just call out for me, folks. What are some of the factors that sort of likely go into your decision about what suit to buy? What are your decision-making criteria? So we're all going to go shopping for a suit. Style, okay? Price, color, size, quality. What's it for? Fit? Yeah.
Does it make me look good?
To make me look good. By the way, could we have a little poll here? What do you think about this suit? I'm kind of going for the thinning kind of look. What do you think? Okay. So style, price, color, fit. Okay. Anything else? Function. Okay. What else you have in your wardrobe? How would it coordinate? By the way, you're doing very nicely here. Now, but the thing is, did he really dress himself, or did the woman? Yeah, okay. Because sometimes the guy doesn't really figure that out too well. Todd's terrible at that. If he didn't have Jill, man, he'd be a nut. What else? Prestige. Yeah. Status and the brand might matter. Travelability of the garment. That's a big one for me, actually, because I hate to iron, although I did iron this morning. And what do you mean by cost? Just, okay, so price or cost, yeah? Yeah? Oh, she's with me, man. We avoid the dry cleaning ones like the plague, right? Right? Okay. All very reasonable things, all very legitimate kinds of factors. But let me just mention a few factors that we didn't mention. We didn't ask any question about who made the suit. And were the workers that made the suit treated well or not? We didn't really ask any questions about the environmental impact of the suit in terms of the fabric that it's made out of, or the processes by which it was constructed, or the company that's benefiting from our patronage. Are they a company that's environmentally responsible? Or what about the retail seller that we went to purchase the suit from? Are they a good corporate citizen, that particular seller? We didn't ask any of those questions. And there's a lot of reasons why we don't tend to ask those questions. We don't ask those questions in part because it's very difficult to find answers to those questions, right? You've all heard this phrase, globalization, right? That's our big, 50-cent word for today. Well, globalization is real, and it really does mean that our choices, our buying choices, our economic choices, actually affect a whole lot of people beyond ourselves and our immediate circle. What I'm wearing today, actually, I'm wearing clothes that were made in China, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. That's what I'm wearing. I'm a living example of globalization. Some of you may have heard of this interesting book that's called A Year Without Made in China. This woman, we had a family. She lived outside of New York City, and her goal was to try to avoid buying anything that was made in China for a whole year. And basically, it was impossible because there are just certain kinds of things that China so dominates the market that she couldn't find them. It took her 8 months to find a pair of white tennis shoes for her children that were not made in China. The blender broke down, and they couldn't buy a new one because you couldn't make, the blade is made in China, and you can't repair it unless you buy it from China. Their birthday cakes didn't ever have birthday candles, because you can't find birthday candles anywhere that aren't made in China.